So, let's go over the notes I got in this game. So yeah, I was looking back, I made a note in South 1. I was dealer right here, and I got into Tenpai with Riichi Pinfu, Tanyao, potentially Peiko. And then immediately after I reached, this guy also reached, and so I'm like, wow, they must have something pretty decent if they were going to fight a dealer reach. They had something pretty decent. Riichi Dora 5. they literally have almost all the Dora. And if they draw the last one mon, they can use that as well and just con it. And they're waiting on a 2-mon, which looks pretty good from their perspective. Unfortunately, a couple were in our hands. Yeah, that's cool. Alright. So, like always, I'll be going over the notes I made during the game. So, first one, East 1-0, 5th turn. Ooh, this one. Yeah, so this is like potential Sanshoku right here with like the 7, 8, 9. Dora is the 8 pin as well. I'm dealer. But because I don't have a pair, this 5, 6, 7, 8 shape is really good. Because if I do draw into instant Tenpai, especially like the 7 pin, I'll have a good weight Tenpai on the 5, 8. I could also bring in the red 5 as well. So, yeah. At this point, it's like, even though if I do draw the 9, it's like, Sanshoku, I would need to sacrifice too much. And technically, I could get Itsu chance as well. It's about the same chance as getting the Sanshoku chance. Probably actually a little bit better. Hey. Then going on to the 7th turn, we have a Riichi right here. And because I had a pretty nice wide one Shanten with Dora potential and Itsu potential, not to mention the only safe tiles, well, I got a couple safe tiles. I got a 3 pin and the 1 mon. But still relatively early on, a lot of Suji tiles unaccounted for over here. 3 pin doesn't look that bad either. I'm sorry, the 1 pin doesn't look that bad either. So this is like something I'm like, yeah, I'm willing to push right here. In order to keep this one Shanten alive. So like all of these were pretty safe, and then I got into Tenpai, waiting on the 7 pin. I'm wondering, should I take this right here? So technically, it kind of just barely squeezes by the limit of, hey, this is maybe kind of okay. 7 pin is the Dora indicator, so that's not great. There's only 3 tiles left. If I do Riichi with this, it's going to be Riichi Dora 1, so 3,900 points. At least with Ron, or 4,900 including the reach stick. With Sumo, it goes up to 6,000 points, and then Ura and Ippatsu chance. So technically, it's just about the level of like, okay, I can actually, you know, technically fight this guy and still be EV okay. The 7 pin is kind of iffy, but because there is a guy in reach, it's not all that bad.
Eat.
Or so I say to myself. Yeah. I guess the question is like, you know, how bad is 7 pin the actual weight? 6 pin came out right here, which was kind of good for me. But yeah, it's like, how bad is the 7 pin weight? How many are likely to be remaining in the wall at this point, etc., etc. So it's like, where is it? So if you have, like, let's say a Tenpai, and it's the 3rd turn, you would expect that half of the tiles that you are waiting on at this point are either going to be in one of your opponent's hands or in the dead wall. Just counting the number of tiles that you don't have basically information to. So at this point, that's even more true. It's like, well, we only have 3 tiles to begin with. How many are actually in the wall? Which is kind of big. Generally, though, this is a Ricci I would take. I just want to know, like, in a specific case, does the weight warrant wanting more? But even if we do kind of, like, try to upgrade this hand, I mean, we can drop the 9 pin, and then if we draw, like, you know, the 3, 6, 9 so, we could technically upgrade, but most likely, well, we're going to get the 3 of the 6 so over the 9 so. And then we'd be waiting on a 8 pin Dora Tanki. And even if like the 9 comes out and we call that, it's not actually that much of an improvement for our value, especially like with Ricci. So I think instant reach right here is probably better. But yeah. Early 9 pin right here, which is also pretty good, considering that the 8 pins to Dora. They could have something around it, but usually early 9 pins indicate dropping from like a lone tile. There are exceptions, of course. But yeah, not much information on like the 7 pin right now. But nothing tells me that it's like super bad either, aside from it being the Dora indicator and only 3 tiles left. Yeah. Ever since I got Tenhou, it's like a lot of uncertainty about early bad weight Riccis, because it's like there's like a very fine line between like good bad weight Riccis and bad weight Riccis, if that makes sense. Mainly because people in this room like to push, using every single ounce of knowledge that they have. Which basically means that if you do end up doing some bad Riccis, you're gonna get punished for them. You're gonna get punished for them more often than not, compared to like if you're in a lower room. But yeah, it's already the 10th turn. Tile improvement takes a while. I kind of like the Ricci here.
Eat.
And then I chose 2-mon over the 5 or the 8 because the amount of tiles that are around the 2-mon that I could see, like the 1-mon, is better than the other 2 tiles. So less chances, or less potential shapes that they could run me with. In reality, how bad was that weight? I don't know. If there's 1 in the wall, I'd be kind of happy. Wow, there's 2 in the wall. Surprise, surprise. They had early reach with Tenhou Dora 1 on 5 pin weight. And then you got this monster who's just like, yep, I'm ready to, you know, Ricci immediately. That's kind of funny, though. If I didn't reach here, do you think that they would have reached? Do you think that they would have just, like, gone for it? I think they would have. I think they would have dropped 7 pin and took like the Tenpai right here, potentially Ricci'd after them with Ricci, Tenhou, Ipeko. But then because the Reach came out, it's like, you know, even if they do, they have to deal into Ippatsu there, so they decided to fold instead. Well, not fold, but like Moashi around. There's still technically 1 Shanten. Plus, 4 Sozu looks pretty okay for both of us at this point, and so they might even be able to keep the 8, like with an 8 pin draw or something, and just go around. Huh. That's pretty cool. And then, yeah, after that, it's just like, and fold. People are too scary in this room. Okay. Next up. South. East, 1-1, 8th turn, and Hatsu Call. So Hatsu Call came first. So normally, when I have a calling hand that I'm going for, especially if it's a Kawashite, like a quick hand that just tries to win before other people do, I'll try not to call if I don't have a pair, because that'll be a huge bottleneck if you end up with that as your weight. And with open hands, you're a lot more likely to have that happen, because you can call your shapes. You can call your Tatsus, you can call your you know, whatever, but you can't call pairs. And so, yeah. But there are some exceptions to that. One exception is right here, where it's like, well, I can potentially see even up to like a Mangan with this hand. I have a couple Dora right here. The shape probably needs to be filled in ideally from there. I have a lot of honor tiles that I can use up until I'm in Tenpai to basically kind of avoid like the worst case scenarios. So yeah, I kind of like calling here. Then stepping forward a little. We got the 8th turn. Or I draw 2. So now we're getting to the middle round. And once you hit middle round, you want to start slimming down your hand. You want to start facing reality and basically saying, okay, I'm done with my dreams. What can I realistically get? Because you're expecting at any point in time right now, someone could just call Ricci. And when they do, if you don't slim down your hand and you're just like keeping like all these nice middle tiles and just trying to increase the chance, even just a little of you, completing your hands, more often than not, you're going to be running into a situation where you don't have any safe tiles. So rather than trading off for that just like little bit of increase, a couple tiles here and there, you can keep a safe tile for everyone, and that will at least save you from Ippatsu, and more importantly, give you more turns, because after Ricci, if you can usually keep around like 2 safe tiles, more often than not, that'll be fine, because more information comes out after they reach. So even if you only have 2 safe tiles right now, it's not like you're going to only have 2 safe tiles 2 turns afterwards. You might, but chances are, usually you'll get some more information. So right here, we don't want to throw out east for that reason. And so then we got 1, 2, 3, 4 other shapes. We're going to keep the red 5 around, so what else do we drop? We can drop the 1 Mon, but that's the Dora. And if we do get another Dora, that'd be pretty nice. Not to mention if we got like a 3 Mon, we'd probably just like drop the 2. We could even Tonki on like the 5,800 points. Not bad for the bad weight. So probably 6 here. I was keeping this around because this is a good shape for making a pair. In the case that we get a 9 or 6 or 9 Sozu. But going into middle round, it's like, well, am I willing to throw out like some of these Dora tiles anyway right here? Or am I probably just going to fold later on if someone does beat me to Ricci? And I'd probably just like fold later on. Of course, I don't have that many safe tiles for everyone, all things considered, because most of my hand is made up of pretty central tiles, and this is right next to the Dora. This person, obviously, I have like 3 safe tiles for, which is good because they dropped the Dora, so they're like the one I would be most likely suspecting to like reach. This person I have like Nakasuji. This person I have nothing. So yeah, it's like, even if I do like, let's see, I don't know, what would I drop here? I could technically drop the red 5, but then I'd be kind of sad. Not to mention this guy can call as well with some value. 2 Mon is also like a pair right here. And so now if I like drop this and get around the 5, I can drop the 1 and still maintain this door and at least get some good weights out of it. Where in the case that I keep this and get a pair, like I'm going to be stuck with like this penchant right here next to the Dora, which is pretty rough. So yeah, I kind of like dropping this. And then like the best case scenario, I could even draw another 1, drop the 2, build something around the 5, and technically even upgrade this to like a Mangon. So at this point, I think it's probably okay to drop the 6. Probably. And they called. And they called again. And they Ricci. Wow. And now at this point, it's like, okay, let's just fold. So it's unlikely that our hand is going to get into close to Tenpai right here. So rather than folding east, might be a good idea to fold 8 so first and just be like really, really safe. Mainly because in this situation we have 1 person in reach, right? So are we just defending against them? No. Whenever we fold, we have to defend against everyone because we're basically saying I'm folding so I don't pay points to Ron. Yeah, I'll probably pay points from Sumo if that does happen. But if you only defend against 1 person, then you risk, dealing into another later on. So if I throw like the east right here, technically it does give me a little bit of a chance to like push forward my hand. Like 1 pin's not that bad of a push. But even so, it's kind of hard. I have to like throw at least one of these Dora right here, or like the 4 6 pin to actually cross over into that Tenpai realm. So yeah, I should probably throw 8-so here. Did I actually do that in the game, though? No, I'm greedy. I'm like, Tenpai chance. But yeah, at this point, since my hand is that far away and this person is very likely to continue pushing, if I throw 8-so here, this is good, because if I throw this right now, and then this guy switches or gets into Tenpai on like the 5-8 Sozu, and then I have to drop it later on, I could potentially deal into them. Though I guess considering the Dora, it might not be that bad, because Zora's the one mon, they already dropped that. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to use that with their hands. Red 5s are the only thing that are remaining. I have one right now, so technically their hand is probably at most 3,900 points. But either way, I don't want to deal into that, because that's like 4,200 points, which is technically already more than if this guy gets like a Mongon Sumo, which is also unlikely. So see, I would have dropped this one anyway. Yep. So 4-pin is like Nakasuji now, because there's a wall of the 2s and then 7 right here. Plus all the 5s are dead, so 4-pin is pretty decent, even though it's Shonpai. And then that person reaches and it's like, it's okay, we're defending against everyone. La-di-da-di-da. Chan. Go. Oh, 8. Oh, yeah, that one. Oh, that's also kind of interesting. So this right here is kind of a fun quirk. Tune's actually slightly better. But in this case right now, it's like we have a choice between dropping a safe tile or a safe tile or a safe tile. What safe tile do we drop? If we drop, let's say, a Formon came out right here, right? So it's safe for everyone currently. If we drop this Formon and this person's able to call it to get into Tenpai, that'd be kind of bad for us, right? So rather than dropping, you know, a safe tile that they could potentially call, it's better to drop a safe tile that they probably don't need, or even better yet, the tune, which they can't even call, and it's equivalently safe to the other things that we have as well, because then if they're not in Tenpai, it gives them less of a chance to get into Tenpai. Of course, in this case, they were already Tenpai. Everyone was. Alright. Next up, East 3, and 13th turn. So, what do we got? Yeah, this one. Yeah, this one. Let's turn this on real quick. So, currently, Dora is the 6-mon. We can see one of them, and we can see one red 5. That's the indicator. So, we're still missing 5 Dora tile out there, which is kind of scary, because this Dora tile is pretty easy to use in like just a base Tanya or Pinfu hand, and could secretly be lurking to destroy you and everything you know and love. So, do we risk throwing out the tiles that we have right now? We can even go back to this turn as well. So at this point, we're like, you know, pretty meh hand right now. We're still 2 Shanten, it's already the 12th turn, and then we have this chance to call. Do we call this? I think so. The 3 Mons are almost dead, there's only 1 remaining. But that's actually kind of good for the 2 Mon, because if we can cheat the 2 Mon, then, you know, we can move this hand forward a lot more easy. 1 Mon is also looking really good, safe to this person, and very likely safe to this person as well, considering what we can see on the board and in our hands. Yeah, not all that bad. So, if we do chi this, and then start inching towards Tenpai, potentially even, like, actual, like, Tanyao Tenpai, what do we throw? Well, we can throw the 1 Mon, since the 3 is kind of unusable anyway. But, because this is already late game, if anyone reaches right now, That's kind of like expected, right? Do I think anyone's in Tenpai? Here's the question. Currently, like, dealer dropped this from their hands, and I'm like, oh no, are they in Tenpai? And then they dropped another one from their hand, and I'm like, okay, they might be in Tenpai now, but more likely I'm probably guessing they're in one Shanten right now, maybe. Because that's the case, I'm like, well, normally you want to slim down your hand before you get to the dangerous, like super dangerous of like someone is in Tenpai mode. Because at that point, if you have to drop a dangerous tile, you might get Rond. And so that's called slimming down your hand. But what do you do in the case that you're already in that danger mode and you're like calling? Well, you should throw safe tiles until you hit like Tenpai, and then, and only then, if you actually do hit it, if you actually do hit something that's actually, you know, worth fighting for, then you drop your dangerous tile. Not like, you know, dropping it from like X Shanten away. But in this case right here, I kind of read this as, okay, I don't necessarily think that maybe, or I kind of hope maybe kind of sort of that this person is in Tenpai yet. Who's the one I'm really scared about. So I was kind of wanting to risk throw the 6, but I don't know if that's necessarily good or not, because it's already the 12th turn. Someone's probably in Tenpai right here. And the 6-0 is a pretty dangerous tile, and if I dealt into like a Mongon right now, I would not be surprised, because if you are in Tenpai, and you haven't called Reach, what are the reasons for that? One might be your hand is just so bad that, you know, you can't call Reach with it, because you're scared you'll get chased after and beat up. Another reason is your hand is just so good, and you know you have no reason to. Maybe it's already a 5,200 point hand on a bad weight. Maybe it's already a Dama Mangon. Especially once you hit middle round, both of those cases are pretty likely. So the fact that we don't see anyone in Reach right now is kind of suspicious. Now, if we do call this and someone does Reach, what is our reaction? To the person on the right, we can technically throw 3 Manzu. We technically have 1 Manzu in our hand. We technically have an 8 Manzu in our hand. So technically 3 potential tiles. For Toymen, we have a 4 Mon. We also have the 1 Mon Suji, which is pretty good. And then for Kamicha, we have the 3 Mon. 2 Mon and 1 Mon are likely to be safe as well right there. 7 Mon also, so all in all, not that bad. So yeah, that considering, do we actually want to throw a dangerous tile right now or wait until we get into Tenpai? I was considering not throwing a dangerous tile until I got into Tenpai, but because Toymen dropped the Toitsu of the Norths, I was considering, okay, there is a potential chance they are not in Tenpai. And that's kind of what I was betting on right here. Yeah, my hands are hard to gauge. Similarly, once this came around, I'm like, okay, 1 pin came out of their hand, they could potentially be in Tenpai now. Anyone could potentially be in Tenpai now, but the question is, well, do they need the 4? This person dropped a 7, they could still be waiting on the 1-4. This person dropped a 4, they could still be waiting on the 1-7. 7 came out like 4 turns ago, but a lot of tile switches happened since then, so do I risk throwing the 4 at this point? I probably shouldn't. Like, both of these are kind of iffy just because I'm lacking a lot of information on the board of where the door is, and no one's in Reach at this point. Both of which are kind of suspicious. No one is even called at this point. It's just very much like, I don't know, dead silence. And by dead silence, I mean I'm about to be dead in this silence. Yeah. And there's a reach, and now it's like, oh, whew, alright, perfect, great. Everything makes sense now. Because then, once you have a reach, it's a lot easier to read other people. Because it's like, okay, did they drop a safe tile to the reach? Or did it come from their hand? Are they folding? Like, what's up? You can give a lot, I guess, clear estimate of like, oh, this person's probably in Tenpai, or oh, this person's folding, kind of sort of thing. But with nothing, it's just like, who do I defend to? What is there to defend to? Like, I don't know. So yeah, was I actually right in my estimate that no one was in Tenpai here? One Shanten. Hey, look at all this Dora! Death Hand, wow! One Shanten. One Shanten. Switch over. They got into Tenpai on like a bad 7 Sosu. Chitoi no Mi. Dealer now drops the 1 pin, and then they got into Tenpai with their death hands. Yeah, so the 4 right here is pretty iffy. Yeah, the 4 right there is pretty iffy. Even like dropping the 7 is like, surprise. Yeah. I probably should have been folding to the unknown at this point. Yeah. Oh wait, I'm sorry. They're not in Tenpai. They're still one Shanten. Then of course, you know, dealer's just like, oh, Tsumogiri. They have no reason to reach. They already have a manga on Tenpai. And if that person didn't sumo, then they would have just destroyed them. Wow. Yeah. Much gray area. Tons of gray area. What is my Yaku? Right here I'm going for Tanyao. So the 3-mon is basically dead, right? And so I could get the 5 and the 8, I can get the 2 right here and the 5 right here. 5 is kind of hard to get, but 2 looks pretty nice. Mostly this is not a hand that is going to be like, ooh, I'm trying to win this hand. I mean, if I win it, that'd be kind of nice, but more so it's like a hand of like, I want to creep forward towards Tenpai in case this hand does go to Ryukoku, but I don't want to stick my head out so far out it gets chopped off by a dealer Mongon. Kind of sort of hand. Yeah. But my original read was like, maybe Tenpai, but probably one Shanten. And then once this came out, it's just like, they're probably Tenpai. And it's just like, yeah, so. Yeah. I probably shouldn't have pushed what I pushed. Then again, even if I were to fold here, what do I fold? I mean, dropping the 1-mon's okay, but if someone reaches, then I'm out of options right there. Not to mention, if like this person reaches, that doesn't make the 3-mon any safer for dealer. Etc., etc. Much difficulty. Alright, let's take a picture of that real quick, and then on to the next project, or problem. Alright, next up, East 4-0, 8th turn. Ooh, this is fun. So technically one Shanten for, Dora, Chitoitsu, not bad. What's this guy going for? They dropped a 5 pin next to Dora, a 4, a 6, and an 8 from their hand. They dropped an early 9 so, and so it's like, oh, they're not going for Honitsu, but this kind of screams to me something is up. Now, normally when you see this, especially since it started in the middle and went outward, this is kind of screaming to me, Honitsu, Honitsu! But it's like, oh, but look, they dropped that. Though this could very much still be a Sozu Honitsu. If it's not, they probably have other Mensu in their hand, and they're pretty close to Tenpai. But if I had to guess, it kind of smells like Honitsu. And then you could explain the 9 by saying, like, oh, it's just trying to disarm people. Or maybe it, like, changed there with, like, a lucky draw later on. So, considering that, the tiles that I have left are the 8-pin, 5-mon, 4-so, and 5-so. 5-so is pretty good because it's like, oh, it can keep Red Dora. 5-mon is the same. 8-pin's not usually that bad. It's right next to the door, though. That makes it a little bit harder to get. But because I can see a couple 7-pins and a couple 9-pins right here, it makes it a little bit... and I don't see anything out on the board right now around it. It makes it a little bit more likely that it might be still in the wall. Because it's hard to use. But people might, kind of like stick to it because it's next to the Dora. So I'll probably want to drop either 5-mon, 4-so, or 5-so. Right here, we technically could also get a Mensu hand, but that's kind of unlikely. Even if we get 3, it could technically be used with like the 1 and the 2, and we'd probably need 2 of them. If I do drop the 5 first, I can get the 1, 2, 3, and drop the 2, and then get to Tenpai in another way, but the 8-pin is still going to become like a bottleneck, so I think confirming and just going for Chitotsu right here is okay. So that being the case, I probably want to drop one of my Sozu tiles, especially if this person's eating them all up. 5-mon doesn't look that bad, especially since they threw these things around it. So probably start with 4, since I can take in the red 5. Then they dropped a 7-pin Dora, which usually means, hey, well, normally a 7-pin Dora from your hands usually means, hey, I'm one Shanten. But because this is after a call, they could very much so be in Tenpai, because they got already the perfect draw when they dropped it. And so same thing right here. Even though 1 5-pin's out, this is a red 5-pin at this point, I could also draw a 6-pin, switch over to a Mensu hand pretty easily. So 5-so's right here is the way to go. Now, in actuality, yes, it was Honitsu! See? You gotta watch out. It's like, once you see this, it's like, that right there is just like the disarming trap of like, oh no, it's not Honitsu. Look, I dropped Sozu already. What are you talking about? Tricky, tricky, tricky. and it's pretty funny too, because like right here, it's like, oh, they already see their chance, right? They have 1 block, 2 block, 3 block, 4 block, and now they have this Haku. So it's like, okay, I can technically get 5 blocks even without this 9 Sozu. So they're going to sacrifice a little bit of, chance of like getting the 9 Sozu to basically kind of disarm everything. Not to mention, if you look on the board, 9 Sozu and 9 Sozu are both gone anyway. So if they get an 8 Sozu, they can use it with the 6. If they get the 7, they can use it with the 6. So the only thing they're losing right here is 1 9 Sozu. And what they gain from it is basically a nice alibi that says, oh, no, I was never going for a Honitsu. What are you talking about? I just happened to drop these because I was close to Tenpai. So yeah, be very suspicious of like middle tiles going outwards, especially in 2 suits and not the 3rd, even if you see like a 1 or a 9 in the 1st suit early on. Alright. Next up, South 1-0, Shimocha. Oh yeah, we already saw that. So I was just wondering, what Yaku did they have to chase me? They had Richidora 5. So guaranteed Hanemon. Pretty good. Then, to South 1-2, does that say 0 turn? Or 10th turn? I'm gonna guess 10th turn. Yeah, 10th turn. So at this point, like, with this hand, I technically have Itsu potential, I technically have, I have 2 Dora in my hands. So I can either drop the 9-mon, or I can drop the 2-pin at this point. But because I already have, like, Pinfu Dora, and I can even take in, like, the red Dora here or here, it's already pretty good, right? So, because we're in the middle rounds already, things are going to get dangerous, especially around the 4-pin Dora, because people are more likely to go for the Dora. And if we look on the board, we can't see anything around Pinzu right now, so 2-pin's going to be pretty hot if we hold on to that. So what we can do instead is drop the 2-pin right now. We lose the chance at Itsu, but it's fine, because even if we did, we'd be, you know, dropping down, losing our pair. So we lose the chance at Itsu, but we gain a lot of safety by keeping like the 9-mon, which is already safe for a couple people. And even if we do against Tenpai and we drop the 9-mon, that's pretty great, which is going to be a lot better than having to drop the 2-pin later on. So it's like, we're losing a little, but for a lot of like safety right there. 2-pin's not normally pretty bad, but being next to the Dora, that makes it go up a rank, basically. So that's why I threw the 2-pin before the 9-mon here. And then, of course, if I get a safety tile better than the 9-mon, then I'll switch out for that. So now I got a Chun, which we can see 3 of. And so this is also especially important for Dama hands. Like, how do you tell if a Dama hand is in Tenpai? One of the biggest indicators is safe tile overflow. So 9-mon right here could potentially be from my hands. You know, it's not necessarily really, really safe. But when you see a Chun right here come out, where it's like 1, 2, 3, all of them are out, and that's the last one, that can only be held for a safe tile, right? Like, I'm not going for Kokushi. So whenever you see this, this is a very, very, very strong indicator of, hey, watch out, they might be in Tenpai. Especially if you don't see any Dora, that's like, you know, run. So that like, right here, this is actually really cool. So if we watch this, so this person, they didn't notice or they didn't care, they just throw a dangerous tile. Toyman, on the other hand, like, if you notice, they throw a East right here, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. Why'd they throw that? Are they in Tenpai too? And then the next turn, they throw another one from their hand. In other words, they're defending to us already, because they saw that overflow right there, and they're like, oh, they might be in Tenpai, and that's why they threw this. So yeah, good eyes, Toyman. Is that actually the case? Let's see. Dun, da, dun, dun, da, da. I mean, even with their hands, like, they would probably actually continue this. So maybe I'm just giving them too much credit. Alright. And yeah, that's all the notes I got for this game. So, thanks for watching, and I'm going to be jumping back into queue for another game, which will start in 5 minutes. So, see you then.